Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast, coming to you live right after the Chargers game. An unfortunate loss, but happy to be here. Before we get started with Alex tonight, want to send a quick shout out to Donald Parham. Hope he's able to recover from this. Was not a very good thing to look at, obviously. Hoping for the best, seeing a player lock up like that and be instantly knocked out cold. Hope he is doing well. But just wanted to start that by sending some well wishes to number 89. That being said, it's just me and Alex tonight. Tyler's is not here to join us, but Alex is. Urban fired still, though. Alex, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. The universe threw me a bone last night, and I knew that it would have to readjust, so the Chargers had to take this L. But no, I mean, it was a fun game to watch back and forth, but just a bunch of missed opportunities that I'm sure we'll be talking about on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll dive into all of that. Before we get started, as well, have to mention our sponsor, TickPick, who is the official ticketing partner of the Guilty as Charged podcast. You can use the link below in our description for a $10 discount on any ticketing purchase of your choice. Football season is coming down to an end, so definitely go take advantage there. That being said, let's dive into this matchup. I want to talk, as we always do, in some general terms, right? Kind of the bigger, broader picture here. And Alex, what's kind of your big picture takeaway from watching this game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. It was a really exciting game. Obviously, we see the Chargers kind of flex their muscle on offense. Not quite near the goal line, but at other times in the game, they were kind of fun and exciting to watch. But yeah, no, I think the game does ultimately come down to those goal line calls. Jared Cook not catching the ball, Joshua Kelly fumbling the ball. And then we sort of talk about the field goal dynamic, which I'm sure we'll get into in this show. But the Chargers probably should have taken some points. I know people are going to talk about the fact that, Staley's fourth down analytics say that you always go for it. But a 7-point lead in the half against the Chiefs would have been great. And so especially 3 points that might have saved you at the end of the game there. But yeah, no, I think it's certainly the missed opportunity game. Even on the very first drive, when the Chargers get all the way down there and then don't convert. So I think the Chargers, we talked about it in the first half of the season, certainly as sort of a live by the fourth down, die by the fourth down kind of team. And they were living by the fourth down because they were converting 87% or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now they're not converting that, and they're on the wrong side of that. Unfortunately, and yeah, so that's kind of what's going to happen when you play with fire. And I was talking about it with a Chiefs fan actually tonight, and he actually said he sort of respected Staley, going for the kill and all that, and I think I do still generally agree with that philosophy, but it's hard to look at those points that got left on the board, and it's hard to look at the Jared Cook and Joshua Kelly plays near the goal line as they happened. What happened on the first drive with Chargers, and just a bunch of missed opportunities, poor execution.
Yeah, from a general perspective, I'm okay with this loss. If I would have known heading in that the offensive line would have played this way, I would have been thrilled. I would have been, okay with the defense. Losing Derwin mid-game, losing Tavon Campbell mid-game. You're already playing without Asante Samuel Jr. Chris Harris is getting cooked. So, the defense I thought played all right. So I think for the most part, I'm okay with this loss. Sweeping the Chiefs would have been awesome. But you mentioned the missed opportunities, and that's the story of the game, right? Like, of course, you can kind of question the decision making. I thought individually in a vacuum, each of those decisions to go for it on fourth down was solid decision making process. It was just the execution. You have the one right before the half. Keenan Allen was wide open on that play, but Dan Sorensen just made a really good play on the ball. So, I thought for the most part, Brandon Staley was making good decisions. I think for me, the biggest takeaway from the actual game are just the missed opportunities. You have Mike Williams dropped 2 touchdowns on that first play, on that first series. Jared Cook dropped a touchdown. Gosh. And Joshua Kelly had that one fumble. So I I understand the frustration about the individual decisions to go for it. But for me, this is about the execution and not the lack of a bad process. Because for me, I thought the process was fine.
Yeah, I thought the process was fine. I mean, again, this is what the Staley Chargers are going to be. They're going to be live by it, die by it kind of thing. And today they died by it. So that is what it is. And also, obviously, that not converting fourth downs isn't the reason they lost this game. They lost this game because Derwin James goes out
Sure.
and comes out, and Austin Eckler clearly was not able to play nearly as much as he was in these last few weeks. So that's in a sense why they lost the game. But yeah, I definitely still agree with the whole fourth and Staley philosophy. That being said, I think there are times like going into the half after you've poorly executed where maybe you take the field goal there.
Sure.
But yeah.
No, and I think, things that he said after the game last week when they were about to go for fourth down and they ended up taking that delay of game, was that there's a certain angle on the field from the left hash that Dustin Hopkins is not really comfortable with when you're closer towards the goal line. So I wonder if that played, a factor in those decisions as well. But I think everybody's going to focus in on the fourth down decisions, and I think for the most part, I'm okay with it. You beat the Chiefs the first time around by going for it on fourth down. You beat the Browns by being aggressive on fourth down. So this is who the Chargers are going to be. And I think it's, a fun adjustment from what we experienced last year with Anthony Lynn, who almost never went for it on fourth down. But again, I totally understand the frustrations, but I think the process for the most part was sound.
Yeah.
So quick shout out to Ross C. Johnson for the super chat. He says this one hurt, felt like a win, though the scoreboard said otherwise. So I totally agree with that. And again, I understand, like I said, the frustrations are sound. But this is a game that I think really kind of shows that the Chargers were here to play. I think that given all the circumstances, given the injuries, that the way that the Chargers played was admirable. And I think from a game perspective, the Chargers coaching staff came up with a hell of a game plan without Rashawn Slater in there. We had Trey Pipkins, and all of us had our concerns in that regard, but they dominated on the ground in this game. They essentially did whatever they wanted until that very last drive when they had to punt. But the offense, for the most part, was moving the ball at will, and Trey Pipkins was a big part of that, as was, the rest of the offensive linemen. So I think, this really kind of showed again that the Chargers are able to make some adjustments on the fly, play to their players' strengths. And I think Trey Pipkins had a good game. Like, he certainly didn't have a bad game like we were all kind of expecting. Again, I'll go watch the film after this and kind of see what happened there. But for the most part, I love the way that they designed the protection plan in this one. And again, they ran the ball essentially at will today.
Yeah, no, I thought that Trey Pipkins had a good game against all odds. Did not think that was going to happen. And I also thought that when you kind of look at the game, Justin Jackson played really well. Like we've been kind of waiting for that RB2 performance to step up in lieu of
Yeah.
Austin Eckler, in relief of him, really. And I thought that he did pretty well as well. Especially considering the state of the offensive line. I thought that he showed some burst and had some of those quick decision-making skills that got him some extra yards. So it was nice to have a good running back. The other one, Eckler, was hurt, and Joshua Kelly, less we say, the better.
What sucks about the fumble for Joshua Kelly is that he was playing pretty good before that. It was definitely ironic though that Troy Aikman is like, they should hand the ball off to Joshua Kelly.
I'll run it with fucking Kelly.
Troy Aikman jinxed Josh Kelly, so blame Troy Aikman tonight. But
I'm gonna blame Joshua Kelly.
No, the broadcast crew, brutal night today. Joe Buck talking about Donald Parham's arms tremoring, being it because it was cold. It was a really bad look for Joe Buck, and Troy Aikman was his usual bad self.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all primetime games just need to be muted at this point. There's no good commentary teams.
No, absolutely not. Saw a couple people in the chat mention Trey McKitty, and I wanted to give him a shout out as well because when I was watching the Giants game back, when I was watching the Cincinnati game back, Trey McKitty was really standing out as a run blocker, and I think he had another fantastic night tonight. Steven Anderson had some great blocks. I loved that specific design where they kind of leak him out from the fullback spot and do essentially kind of a mini wheel route. Drew a pass interference. So you lose Donald Parham early, unfortunately, and then you get a really good game from Trey McKitty. Steven Anderson played well, but unfortunate that Jared Cook couldn't match that performance by the tight ends.
Yeah, no, Jared Cook. Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know how he dropped that ball. Like
Yeah.
it feels like when he catches it, he like absorbs it into his body and then just shoots it back out. Yeah, that's pretty inexcusable. And I don't know, like we were talking about, hey, is Hunter Henry worth it? And the answer is probably still that I wouldn't have paid him, but I did not think Jared Cook would have these kinds of drop issues. Obviously, he was sort of famous towards the end of his career in New Orleans for that, but no, that was just horrendous. That's what we saw tonight.
Yeah, I saw some people saying that it was a bad Herbert pass. I mean, it hit him right in the hands. Like, we talked to Jalen Guyton. Shout out to wide receiver 3 getting the gack bump again. And he basically was like, listen, if it hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. And Keenan Allen echoed that sentiment when he was talking to the media a few weeks ago. If it hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. And Mike Williams had a couple drops at the goal line. Jared Cook had that one drop. So it's just frustrating to see Jared Cook, the 13-year veteran, continue to make these mistakes where it's just coming up in crucial moments. And, the team continues to feed him the ball in these third down situations, fourth down situations. And he is, not coming up. He's not doing his job. So I'd be pretty surprised at this point if Cook was back next year. Again, a lot of that is kind of going to depend on Donald Parham's health from here on out. They did say during the broadcast that he is doing fine. He's in stable condition. But I can't imagine that he plays anytime soon. But that's definitely going to cloud the tight end position future for the next few weeks.
Yeah, going to definitely cloud in the future, but yeah, no, get Jared Cook out of here. Don't want to see him again. Yeah, as far as that pass, like Aikman was like, oh, I don't know, Herbert kind of high pointed that one. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like it hits him right in the hands. Like, yeah. I'm all for like Herbert puts a little too much mustard on it, but no, it's like you got to catch it. Like especially in that situation, I don't understand why that was even a thing on the broadcast. But no, Jared Cook. I mean, you can make an argument he cost the team the game today.
Yeah, at least not paying all that much. That is kind of the good thing there. But like I said, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the rest of the tight ends. It's going to be interesting from here on out because Gabe Neighbors has essentially been a special teams player the last 2 weeks, and before that he was inactive. So I'm curious to see if they'll bring up Hunter Kampmoyer if Donald Parham is not playing next week, or if they just kind of roll with Neighbors, or what they do there.
Yeah, I don't know at this point. I guess Gabe Neighbors has roster utility now. That's a sentence that just came out of my mouth.
Well, he did have a carry today.
A whole 4 yards. Maybe we should have gone to him on the Joshua Kelly run.
It was. I want to talk about Justin Herbert in general today because he made some stupid throws today that were just like insane. He had that one RPO touchdown where Melvin Ingram was right in his face as a free rusher. He had that one throw to Keenan Allen up the sideline, which was just an insane throw, rolling to his left and flipping that to him. But what'd you kind of make of the way Justin Herbert played overall tonight?
No, I thought Justin Herbert played really well under the circumstances, and yeah, no, it wasn't a game that was like maybe Pittsburgh where it's like he's hitting everything kind of lights out. But I mean, the throws he was making in that fourth quarter, particularly the one to Josh Palmer where he just wired that in there, sort of has the repeat of his Keenan Allen Bengals touchdown where he just wires that right in there. No, I mean he's a top 5 quarterback in this league, and I think he still showed that tonight. Mahomes kind of wins this one, and then shows why he is who he is in that fourth quarter and that overtime.
Yeah.
But also aided by the Chargers just completely forgetting how to tackle and play defense, which was fun. But I definitely think that both of them had really good games, and it's what you expect out of 2 top 5 quarterbacks.
No, I thought that they put on a really good show. I thought Mahomes had some really inconsistent play for the most part. The fourth down that they had to Cole Harn, which was an awful play by Chris Harris, but Mahomes just slipped, and we saw some weird throws from him, but it's you have always talked about this, that you have to be able to get Mahomes. You have to keep him within the pocket. Don't let his legs beat you. And it seems like it doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator or who's calling plays is. Mahomes is always going to beat you with his legs, apparently. But I thought he really turned it on in the fourth quarter. And, I thought Justin Herbert was fantastic tonight, making so many ridiculous throws, handling the pressure that was there on occasion. And I thought Herbert had a fantastic game.
Well, yeah, and I think that Mahomes, generally, they did a pretty good job through 3 quarters of keeping him in the pocket. I just thought when it got down to it in the fourth quarter, like that defense was just gassed. I mean, you could see it on Bosa's face, unfortunately. You could see it really everywhere. I think playing down Derwin also, kind of contributed to that, and how gassed the defense felt, especially when the offense goes 97 yards and doesn't put up a score. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty poor effort. Then throws the defense back out there, and I think that that's why when the Chiefs got the ball in overtime, I was like, all right, well, that was a fun game. Because as soon as they got it, it was just like, yeah, no, this is not ending the way we wanted to, unfortunately. So yeah, no, it's tough, but yeah, I definitely think this is just one of those games where Mahomes just wasn't going to lose it, and the Chargers. As much as I do respect the Staley, like, hey, we're going to try to put him away as soon as we can. Like, Mahomes is never put away. Like, he's just going to come back into that game as many times as he wants. And I think it's why it was imperative for the Chargers to grow the lead when they did, because by the time Mahomes got back into the game, it was only one score, and the rest was kind of history from there.
Yeah. Why is a Raiders fan in here? Like, trying to talk trash right now? Did you watch the game last week, bud? You guys see the 48-9 beatdown of the Chiefs put on you? So probably not the right YouTube channel to be hopping in on right now. I think that's a good point, though, Alex. You want to see them build the league as much as you can, and Daniel Popper pointed out that Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill combined for 139 yards today, which it was a lot of poor tackling. Yeah, it's hard to win when you're not playing their best players like that. But a lot of that is some poor tackling by Trey Marshall, by Nasir Adderley, who I've been a big fan of, but he had a rough day today in that regard. You're playing in overtime with Devontae Harris and Keemon Hall in the secondary. So it just, as soon as they won that toss, I was like, man, they're probably not getting out the field. This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, and I think that's how like the game feels in general, and it's like why this feels like such a brutal loss in a sense is because they almost got away with playing Devontae Harris and Keemon Hall and all those guys, and almost got away with the win. Trey Pipkins, of course, and just throwing a lot of these backups in when they didn't really have any other answers, unfortunately, because of injuries. So they kind of got away with one here, right? And this is sort of the game where the Chiefs not having Chris Jones was very noticeable throughout. So
absolutely
kind of could have taken the division lead without having to play Chris Jones as well, which is also kind of why this feels like a missed opportunity kind of game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Troy Aikman did say a couple smart things. He pointed out that the Chargers were going right. Chris Jones would have been, again, really leaning into Corey Linsley, Matt Filer, even Michael Schofield had a really good game. So just wanted to point this out. Brandon Staley said after the game, he's doing his press conference right now. He said, quote, the quickest way to win a game like that is to score touchdowns, not field goals, especially considering who's on the other side, end quote. So, again, just kind of talking about where his mentality is at with specifically, going forward on fourth down like that.
I mean, yeah, but like if you had 3 at the half, then like you would have gone into that final drive up 10 instead of 7. So like, not gonna get into with Staley today, but like I think there is like just a point where the analytics kind of have to meet the situational. I don't know. I still agree with those fourth down calls. Also, the fourth down calls weren't that great when they did them, unfortunately. Of course, there's the one that's broken up by Sorensen, but I mean, I felt like the defense was playing well enough for them to take the points in instances,
Sure.
especially as they continued to struggle in the red zone, unfortunately.
No, I think, it's tough because I think there's a balance to it, right? Like, I think at some point you've kind of got to pivot. And I understand like the first two you go for it, but at some point you got to take the points. And that's my frustration again. I think the process, like I said before, was sound, but I think if you're, making these decisions in a vacuum, then you go for it. But you got to take the points at some point, and going up 7 and halftime is better than staying up 4. So um but yeah. I also have to give some major props today to Uchenna Nwosu, who I thought had a fantastic game. He was playing so smart. The Chiefs do so many RPO things on offense that you've got to have smart edge rushers that kind of keep their rush lanes and set the edge, play the pass, and so that interception, man, and even the first tip pass that he had was insane. I thought he played the run really well, and we've seen him come into his own over the last few weeks, and he's really earning that extension. So I thought he played fantastic. Really kind of swung the momentum back towards the Chargers with that interception, and then of course Austin Eckler scored on the next play. So I thought Nwosu play was awesome today.
Yeah, I thought Nwosu was really good. I thought the whole defensive line played pretty well. Jerry Tillery had a good game. He
Yeah,
was getting in there consistently with some pressures. Justin Jones, Linval Joseph, I thought also played really well. Joey Bosa had some kind of moments, but also, did sort of get gassed towards the end of the game. But as far as the defensive line, yeah, I thought it was a pretty good effort, especially kind of we were coming into this game like, yeah, the Chiefs have been running it a little bit more. Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to kind of gain some momentum going into this one? But no, the run defense played really well.
I'm. Do you know what their rush total was today?
Don't know off the top of my head.
All right, I'm gonna look really quickly
I know
because
Mahomes has like, I know Mahomes has some of them yards, unfortunately, for reasons, but yeah.
So Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 9 carries for 32 yards. Darrell
Yeah, that
Williams
sounds
had
about
5 for 12.
right. Okay, now tell me the Mahomes number.
3 for 32. So
Fuck.
not as large of a
Yeah,
number as I thought, but that was more
the
the
Bosa number.
moments,
Yeah.
right? And he was scrambling to throw a lot as well. But you look at the Chargers, they had 192 yards rushing tonight. Justin Jackson 13 for 86. That's good for 6.6 yards per carry. Austin Eckler 12 for 59. Joshua Kelly 7 for 21. Justin Herbert 5 for 16. Andre Roberts 1 for 6. Gabe Neighbors 1 for 4. So they averaged 4.9 yards per carry and got 2 rushing touchdowns today.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the game where I think you needed someone else to step up other than Austin Eckler. And even as we say that, Austin Eckler had 5 yards per carry and a touchdown. So, he still showed up today too. But yeah, no, this was a great sign to see from Justin Jackson for sure, just to get one of these games under his belt where, he was just very decisive in how he ran. And I thought that was really good. Herbert had a couple good runs as well. And they got Andre Roberts a little bit involved, so that was
Yeah.
nice to see. They should be doing that more often, but sometimes they just decide not to. And shout out to Andre Roberts. Almost got a touchdown, but a 75-yard return is worth a statue in and of itself.
Yeah, that's the other thing too that we have to talk
Too bad
about.
they didn't fucking score on that drive.
They didn't score on that drive, and they didn't score off of the drive that Bosa had the strip sack. So that's, you get 2 turnovers against Mahomes, and that was, what my biggest storyline was, is who can kind of create those takeaways. It was the Chargers. The Chargers win the turnover battle, but they don't get any points off of the 2 turnovers. So, that's as a whole, right? Like, that's more missed opportunities for this team.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, just I still can't believe they didn't score off the Bosa strip sack like that. I mean, that's so much of it, and then to not score off the Andre Roberts return, not even a field goal, is just tough.
Was the Bosa strip sack after, or was the Joshua Kelly fumble after the Bosa strip sack?
Yes. No, no. Joshua Kelly came later because the Bosa strip sack was the one where they incompleted. Was that the one Sorensen batted down? I think that was the Sorensen drive.
Oh yeah, that was at the end, right? Yeah, so
yeah,
that happened with 1:24.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Chargers had 9 plays, 44 yards, and it ended with the Sorensen pass breakup.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, tough. Jared Cook, everybody.
Oh my gosh. You see the final tally for Travis Kelce?
Read it to me while I drink the water and spill it all over myself.
Travis Kelce had 10 catches for 191 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Okay. It's good. Put some in my eye. All right. And I'm back.
19.1 yards per reception for Travis Kelce.
Fun football. Good that no one tackled him as he ran all the way to the 1-yard line. That was great.
Yeah. Oh man. There's a lot of people talking about like next season for the Chargers in the chat. There's still 3 games left, you guys. They're still in the playoff hunt. Like, I get the frustration, but they're still.
This happens after every game. This happens after every game. After every Chargers loss, we talk about the draft. And after every Chargers win, it's the Super Bowl. So I mean, that's how this works. But I mean, in general, they're going to play the Texans next week, and that's an automatic win. So they're still firmly in the AFC wildcard, even if the division's over.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not going to see a Tyrod Taylor game. It's going to be, what's his first name? Mills?
Davis Mills. Mm-hmm.
Davis Mills. So, so the Chargers are still very much in play for the playoffs. We said this beforehand. Even if they lose, there still is a very high chance that they make the playoffs. Of course, you have the Texans. Then you have to take care of business down the stretch with the Broncos and the Raiders. But the numbers still indicate that the Chargers have a strong chance of making the playoffs. And at the end of the day, that's all that we wanted for this season, was to get into the dance, have a chance to make, an impact in that regard. And, it's a tough loss today, but playoffs are still in sight for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest storyline in this game is the health of Derwin James, somewhat, because that just felt like when the defense pretty much lost it. And then when he didn't come back into the game, Travis Kelce, I assume, had a high portion of those 177 yards.
Oh, yes.
When he went out of the game, of course, 60 or 70 of them coming on one particular play. But yeah.
Yeah. Bill Barnwell tweeted out that before Derwin James left to injury, Travis Kelce had 2 catches. So he had 8 catches and whatever else after Derwin James left to injury.
Give me 1 second. I have to talk about this. Someone asked, can Alex stop saying yeah, no?
It's every week too.
It's every week on the live streams, and I'm going to say yeah, no, go fuck yourself. I'm going to keep saying it.
We all have our sayings, man. It's all good.
Yeah, a little antsy after that loss. Where's Tyler? He's watching the Spider-Man movie, and I'm sure all the Spider-Men showed up, and he's not here to mourn with us.
I know. I was so excited. I decided to stay home from a rehearsal dinner today because I fucking have bronchitis still. And I was really looking forward to doing this after a win. But then all the drops and the fumbles had to happen. So, anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get into some studs and duds then?
Yeah, we should do some studs and duds. I guess I can go with my first stud, and I think I got to go with Justin Jackson. I think Justin Jackson had a really good game. They've been dying for someone to step up in that RB2 role, and Justin Jackson was always the guy who was kind of most capable of doing it. I mean, in comparison to Joshua Kelly, in comparison to Larry Roundtree, and I thought he did really well tonight. With his socialist nature, he really redistributed all of his running back 2 yards. So it was fun for him to have that kind of a game today. I mean, he had a couple. I think he had a good reception for 13 yards on overall 6.6 yards per carry. So it's exactly what you want from him, especially when he had as many carries as he did. I was really excited to see that game from him, and I think it means a lot going forward, especially if he can stay healthy. Then the Chargers have the RB2 thing kind of figured out. If he can't stay healthy, then we're kind of back into Joshua Kelly, Larry Roundtree purgatory, unfortunately. But no, I thought this was a really good step in the right direction for Justin Jackson, especially after last week.
Yeah, it took him 13 weeks to figure out the running back rotation, and I had to laugh when Troy Aikman was like, "Yeah, they're a little weary of giving Austin Eckler a full workload," and it's like, well, they weren't 2 weeks ago when Austin Eckler was healthy. It's just it cracks me up that it took him this long. So I think Justin Jackson is well deserving. He played fantastic tonight. Obviously, you could go with Justin Herbert. I feel like we do that every single week, right? The song and dance of Herbert stud or not. I think for me, I'm just going to give it to the offensive line this week. They really got after it, and you could throw the tight ends in this regard or just kind of call it the general protection plan, because I thought this offensive line was in some big trouble without Rashawn Slater, who's been, I think, one of the best offensive tackles in the league lately. I think that he is a Pro Bowl caliber player at this point in his career, which he's lived up to the hype and then some. But the tight ends and the offensive linemen really were dominant tonight in the blocking categories. You get 190 yards rushing again. I think Justin Herbert had a few of those yards on scrambles, so you can call it like a 180. And they only allowed Justin Herbert to be hit three times today. So of course, no Chris Jones definitely helped. But, Frank Clark had been playing at a really high level lately. Melvin Ingram, of course, we know is a very capable player. And for the most part, the offensive line carried their weight. They kept Justin Herbert clean. They dominated the run game. And I think for me, of course, I'm the offensive line guy here. But for me, I'm going to give it to them this week.
Yeah, no, I think it's well deserved. And as much as we want to talk about them not having Chris Jones, like it kind of cancels out with us not having Rashawn Slater. So and throwing Pipkins into this one. So in that sense, I do think it cancels out.
Todd, that is a great comment. Only good play by Melvin Ingram was the coin toss. I think, I think for the most part, he was really quiet. He had a couple good plays in the run game. But Frank Clark was shut down. Melvin Ingram was shut down. And like I said, Justin Herbert was kept clean for most of the night. And they really dominated in the run game.
It was a clutch coin toss, though. I mean, you got to give it to him. He comes on the road into that building again, and unfortunately got the right call.
He's not even a captain for them. So
I don't know. Maybe it was mental games. Maybe they just wanted him out there because of the former Charger factor.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple people pointing out in Nwosu, I think that is absolutely deserving. There's only two of us here tonight. I think Tyler probably would have said Nwosu if he were here, but again, there's a few good choices, and like I said earlier, I'm mostly okay with this game because of the way that the Chargers played for the most part, and then just the injuries kind of wore them down, and the drops really showed up. But Dud of the day for me, I guess I just say secondary in general. Michael
Yeah.
Davis had a couple good plays, and I was really annoyed at the way that they used him tonight because, like, uh, he's the team's best corner by far without Asante Samuel Jr. in the game, and he was covering Byron Pringle and Miko
Yeah.
Hardman for the most part.
Yeah.
And then at the
Very
end, it was
weird.
like, oh, let's put him on Travis Kelce after Travis Kelce already has 9 catches for 150 yards. So I was annoyed by that. And the secondary, again, no Derwin James, no Asante Samuel Jr. You lose Tavon Campbell, and I get that. But it was just a lot of bad tackling, a lot of bad angles. Trey Marshall slipped and fell again, which led to a big Travis Kelce play. Nasir Adderley had a rough day tackling. So I think dud of the day just has to go to the secondary in general for me.
Well, it was very weird that they made that decision too, because if I remember in the first game, they mostly had Tavon Campbell and Michael Davis sort of shadowing Tyreek Hill, and then they also had Michael Davis and Derwin James on Kelsey for some of those routes. So I know that Tavon Campbell went out, but I felt like the adjustments should have been like, hey, Byron Pringle's not going to make a play 50 yards down the field. We should probably put the guy who can run a 4-3 on Tyreek Hill, but oftentimes Chris Harris was more on Tyreek Hill than Michael Davis, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I should say. My dud of the game, I think, has to go to Jared Cook. Come on,
I thought you were going to say Jerry Tillery there for a second, and I was like, wait, Jerry played good.
No, Jerry did good today. He earns the good boy of the week points. Anyway, no, but I mean, that's just a rough drop on 2nd and goal to not get that into the end zone. I understand the whole Herbert puts mustard on it or whatever, but no, like you have to catch that ball. I think he had 7 targets on the day. So I want to say he had 1 or 2 other drops that probably could have been marked as well. Herbert put a ball where only he could have caught it over 2 Chiefs defenders late in that game as well. Didn't come down with that one, although that was a bit more of a difficult catch to make. But no, I mean, we're just going to be thinking about that 2nd and goal play for a while. Obviously, we'll be thinking about the Joshua Kelly play. But if Jared Cook has that ball, it's 21-10 at halftime, and we're not talking so much about what Staley's decision-making is. And at the end of the day, you pay him to catch the ball because he doesn't provide much blocking value because you have to get that from your other tight ends, one of whom is unfortunately on a stretcher, and Steven Anderson, who was playing his ass off. So if Jared Cook is going to do the one thing that he's paid to do, I would expect him to do it at the crucial junctures of this game. Did not come through, and therefore is the dud of the week for me.
So you were right. He did have 7 targets. So he had 3 catches, 32 yards on 7 targets.
Yeah, well, because I'm just thinking back through the drop. So obviously there's the one near the end zone. There's the one over the 2 Chiefs defenders. And then I want to say there might have been one more. But yeah, either way, you would tally it as 2 or 3 drops and probably one that Herbert put out of range of him. But not a fun day.
No, not at all. I think, he's got to come up with those plays. There was one of the 4th downs that they threw to him that Nick Bolton just made an insane play on. But for the most part, he just was not very good.
Yeah, well, I mean, the weird thing for me with the tight end group is I don't know like what Jared Cook brings at this point. Because he can't catch the ball and he can't block. Like, this is the position we're in with him. McKitty, Parham, and Anderson can all do a little bit of can all block, of course. Primarily McKitty and Anderson, and Parham is probably the best receiving tight end on the team, and unfortunately goes out of that game. But yeah, no, Jared Cook is definitely in a weird position with this team, and unfortunately, they don't really have a choice to bench him now because we don't know when Donald Parham's going to be back, unfortunately. So he's probably still going to have to be tight end 1 as the situation unfolds. But no, I think dud is just it's generous to him this week, and it's been generous to him for the season with many of the crucial drops that he's had in some big moments.
Yeah, him, Chris Harris, some of these veteran players are just not playing super well. And, people gave me a lot of shit last week after Chris Harris played really well. He played bad today, so I think he could be a dud of the day as there was 3 or 4 times where they're motioning Mecole Hardman back and forth to try and get him in a misdirection thing, and Chris Harris is just like taking his sweet time to get over there in coverage. So Chris Harris, and I think deserves mention as well. As like I said, I gave it to the whole secondary, but Chris Harris is absolutely a large piece of that poor performance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe we should just figure out a way that we can swap the Rashawn Slater COVID for Chris Harris, and I think maybe then the Chargers win this game. I mean, Chris Harris on Tyreek Hill. I mean, we've seen it every time, particularly going back to the. When he was in Denver, and then we saw it last year when in that first game where Tyreek burned him, and now unfortunately it's back again. I don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, Devon Campbell probably hurt, and their secondary is really thin in general. Obviously, they hope that this 10 days is good enough for Asante to come back now that they will have time off before they go play the Texans. But yeah, no, the secondary is kind of running on fumes a little bit right now.
Yeah, and he tweeted, the broken heart emoji before the game. So I think he was kind of expecting to play. But you got to take his long-term health into consideration. So I know there were a lot of people concerned about the Chargers kind of rushing him back, and they're pretty clearly being careful there. And I would expect him back next week against the Houston Texans for sure.
Yeah, I would expect him back as well.
So I can't stop coughing. Alex is flying back to the States tomorrow, so we'll wrap this up a little early tonight. But Alex, I want to get your general thoughts here. Chargers at 8-6. They have 3 games left. What are you kind of looking forward to over the last 3 games?
You should win all 3 of these games. Just go out and win them. Finish the season 11-6. That'd be fun. To me, you have 2 games on the schedule on the Texans and the Raiders that should be automatic wins at this point, considering how the Raiders are playing. Yeah. And I think you have another game in the Broncos that, while not an automatic win, I think having them in that stadium as opposed to traveling to Mile High, that should also be a win. And they probably should have won the game in Denver too if they played a lot better than they did. But no, I mean, everything that the Chargers want is still in front of them, well, except the AFC West. But the wild card chase is still full on, and they'll have another chance probably to play the Chiefs down the road in the playoffs if the time comes.
No, I definitely don't think the Chargers have a chance at the division right now. The Chiefs would have to lose all 3. The Chiefs would have to lose all 3 of their games left. But
don't they just have Bengals, Denver, and Raiders left, or some combination like that? I don't know exactly what it is.
I know it's Bengals, and then they finish with Denver. I don't know who they play in 2 weeks though.
I will take.
It's the Steelers. So they play the Steelers this week. Bengals the week after that. Broncos after that.
Okay. Yeah. No. That division's over. It was a fun dream while it lasted.
I think I saw both ESPN and FPI, and I think the 538 all had it as if the Chiefs won today, their division chances were like 90%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because now they're 2 games clear, and the Chargers would have just been tied with the tiebreaker. But
right.
That's nope. Chiefs winning the AFC West again. Chargers road runs to the wild card now. Maybe let's hope for some 2020 Bucks energy, I guess.
2020 Bucks energy?
Oh, I mean the Buccaneers, not the Bucks. Same concept. But
okay. I was, picturing
they both won the championship, so who gives a shit?
No, but I'm, excited about these last 3 games. Again, I agree. You have the 2 games against the Texans and the Raiders that you should absolutely win. I do not think that this team gets swept by the Denver Broncos. I don't think the Broncos are really all that good of a team. So I think the Chargers should win the rest of their games. You finish the season 11-6. And I think that's right where pretty much all of us had them. I think you had them at 12-5 right before the season. Or was that Tyler?
I think Tyler might have 12-5. I think I had them at 11-6 or 10-7, but yeah, we were all kind of around that range.
Yeah. So you win the last 3 games, you get the 5 seed. Who knows what happens if you play, the Browns or the Ravens there. But as long as the Chargers win their next 3 games, they will absolutely make the playoffs. I think you win 2 of the 3, then I think you probably need some help, depending on tiebreakers and things like that. But playoffs still very much in line for the Chargers as long as they take care of business down the stretch.
Yeah, everything they want is still in front of them.
All right. Well, hopefully the next time we record, I can be rid of this stupid ass cough because I'm sick of coughing. I've been coughing for 2 fucking weeks. Next time we record, Alex will be in the States as well.
Mm-hmm.
As you guys can see with the
Yeah, if
with the
you'd like to
suitcases
look at my
behind him.
suitcases on top of my fridge,
Is
right
that
there.
okay on top of your fridge? I was gonna say, is that 4 suitcases?
No, it's 3 empty suitcases. I moved all my shit into my new place today, so yeah, no, I'm just flying back to the States at this
Love
point.
to see it. So
But yeah, no, I'll be flying out of here on Saturday, and yeah, we're all excited for that.
there we go, getting ready for a Christmas back home. So that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please leave a comment or a like. If you're listening to the audio version of this, leave a rating or review. And that's going to do it. Like I said, we'll see you guys next time.
Good riddance, Urban Meyer.
You had to do it, man. You had to get it in.